Hello everyone, and thank you so much for visiting my channel. I really, really do appreciate it. And today I'm going to show you how to make an Irish rose crochet flower. These are really nice, and it's great for anyone of any level, but even if you're a beginner, I think you can do it. You're going to need one color or two or three colors of yarn, whichever you prefer. You'll need some scissors, and you'll need a crochet hook, of course. This is a 4.5 millimeter hook that I'm using, and you'll need a yarn needle. A yarn needle is so helpful. Okay, and we're going to start with a slip knot. I started with a darker color and then kind of went to a medium and then a light color, but you can do it the other way around if you like. Make a slip knot, and we're going to chain 5. If you need to speed up the video, you can either hover over the video or touch the video, and it should bring up the settings button for you to change the speed. And then we're going to slip stitch to the first chain that's right next to the slip knot, and that will make a circle for us to work in. We're going to be working around those chains. So this is round 1. We're going to chain 5 again. This chain 5 counts as a double crochet and a chain 2. Now we're going to double crochet into the circle right in the middle of those chains. Yarn over, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through 2 loops, and yarn over again and pull through 2 loops. So there. Now this can get confusing if you're a beginner because there are 2 circles. It looks like 2 circles. So chain 2 now. Notice in my left hand, my non-dominant hand, I'm holding the original circle that I want to crochet into. So don't get the 2 circles confused. Okay, then we're going to double crochet into the circle again. Now we have 3 circles. Chain 2 again, and we're going to double crochet into the circle again. So we're going to keep going into the same circle of chains that we began with, and we're going to do this chain 2, double crochet, chain 2, double crochet until we have 8 double crochets in the circle and 8 chain 2 spaces. It'll look like the spokes of a wheel. And I've had my thumb on that center circle the entire time. You might have to push that tail out of the way a little bit as you go around. Okay, now when you have 8 double crochets, you're going to have a chain 2 on your hook, and then you'll slip stitch to the 3rd chain of that chain of 5 at the beginning that we did. You'll just find the 3rd chain and slip stitch in there. So that's round 1, and we're ready for round 2. Chain 1, and we're going to start making petals. So in the space, the first chain 2 space, we're going to do a series of stitches. So we're going to half double crochet into that chain 2 space, and we're going to double crochet 3 times into the same space. There's one double crochet, two double crochet stitches, and we'll do one more. Okay, we're going to half double crochet in the same space. Okay, so their petal is finished. Now there's a double crochet just below us right here. We're going to slip stitch into the double crochet. You might have to pull those stitches for your petal over a little bit to find the spot. Just slip stitch there in the double crochet stitch. Then we're going to half double crochet in the next chain 2 space. We will double crochet 3 times in the same space, and then half double crochet again in the same space, and then we'll slip stitch in the double crochet stitch from round 1, and you'll just repeat that all the way around to make 8 petals for round 2. Okay, now we have one more petal to do. Half double crochet, double crochet 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. Half double crochet in the same space again. Now we are just going to slip stitch into the first stitch. So just at the bottom of that first petal, there was a chain 1. If you can get your hook into the chain 1, that's fine. If not, you can go into the first half double crochet, that would be okay. And slip stitch. Okay, so we are finished with this color. So we're going to cut our yarn and weave in the tails. Pull that out of the loop. Thread that tail onto your yarn needle. Okay, and I'm going to just put this through the same stitch to the back. Pull it to the back, and now I'm going to run the tail under with my yarn needle under the petal. I usually go to the left and go under all the stitches of 2 petals if they're not too big. So there, I ran my tail under both. If you flip it over and can't see your yarn needle, then that's perfect. Then you won't see the tail when it's pulled through also. So then I usually skip a thread and then pull it through the same stitches in the opposite direction. And that just secures it very nicely. I haven't noticed any problem with the tails coming out when I do it that way. On some projects you might want to do it a 3rd time, and that'll prevent the tail from popping out. It doesn't look very pretty when the tails are popping out. So it's good to weave in your tails. Just get in a habit of weaving in those tails really well. So now I'm going to do the tail from the beginning of the round 1, and I'm going to run it under some stitches in the center here. In one direction. I'm going to turn it over so I can jump over a thread and go in the opposite direction. Oh, I went in the same direction. Sometimes I like to go all the way around the center and close up by using you can use your tail and go under all the stitches in the center and then pull it tight, and it'll close this hole in the center. And sometimes that's nice. If you have a magic ring, if you do work with a magic ring and it doesn't want to close, that's one way to fix that. All right, now with your second color, if you're using another color, you're going to turn your flower over. You're going to make a slip knot to start, so you'll have a little loop on your yarn. Make a slip knot and make that loop small like that, and then put your hook under a double crochet from round 1. Sometimes we'll refer to that as a post. And so just grab the loop where you made your slip knot, pull it up, then yarn over and pull through for a chain stitch to join your new color. Now we're going to start making a framework for the second round of petals, that'll be round 4. So chain 6 to start. That'll count as a double crochet and a chain 3. Now we're going to do a double crochet around the next post from round 1. Or we'll just put our hook under the next double crochet, yarn over, pull up a loop, and yarn over, pull through 2 loops, and yarn over and pull through 2 loops again. So we just did a double crochet around the post. Now we're going to chain 3 and double crochet around the next post. Okay. And we'll just continue this around until we have a little bridge or a little framework all the way around. this little framework is where we will work our petals in the next round, for round 4. So this is round 3. So we're almost at the end. We're going to have 8 double crochets and 8 chain 3 spaces. Now when you get to the end, you're going to have that chain 6 that we started with, and you want to slip stitch in the 3rd chain of that chain 6. And that will close our round. So we're working on the back of the flower right now. So we're going to flip it over. In a moment. Now to start round 4, we'll have this nice framework. We're going to flip our flower over again so the front is facing you. And just start with the chain 1. And now you're going to make your petal in that chain 3 space. So we're going to do a half double crochet to start. And we're going to double crochet 5 times in the same space and half double crochet again in the same space. So 1 double crochet, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we're going to half double crochet in the same space. There we go. Now there's a double crochet below. We're going to slip stitch into that double crochet. This time, because we did our framework in the opposite direction when we flipped our flower over, it's easier to get into the double crochet to do the slip stitch. Okay, so in the next chain 3 space, you're going to do the same thing for another petal. Half double crochet 5 times. Then you'll half double crochet in the same space, and now you can slip stitch into the double crochet stitch between the spaces. Okay, now you'll just keep making petals that way all the way around, and you'll have 8 petals with a slip stitch in between each. Now the next 2 rounds after this one we're going to switch to another color, and it's basically the same exact general idea, except we're going to do more chains between each double crochet in the framework for, let's see, this is round 4. So for round 5, we'll have an extra chain or 2. I can't remember how many. Let me look at my pattern here. We're going to have for round 5 4 double crochet stitches between each double crochet. And then for round 6, we'll have 7 double crochets for each petal between the 2 half double crochets. So it's very similar for each petal, each round of petals, and each round of framework, except it's just a little bit larger. So you could probably, if you're experienced at crocheting, you would probably do 4 rounds of petals and just make it bigger and bigger. You could even make a pillow. You could just keep going. I think it would be really neat to experiment with that, where you would make maybe perhaps bigger stitches, bigger petals, maybe start using some treble crochets. It'd be interesting to see what it would look like. I have seen pillows made with just continuous layers of petals like that, and they're really pretty. I never actually made a pillow like that. I did make an elaborate granny square, fancy granny square for my mom, and I turned it into a pillow. And it looks really nice with the colors that match her living room. I really like granny squares like that, or pillows made with a granny square with a flower in the middle, and then you just make rows around it, and it can get really fancy, or you can just make it simple. Just do a pretty flower in the middle, turn it into a granny square, and then just keep doing rows of stitches, and maybe change it up for some texture. Change up the type of stitches you use for texture, and just make a big square, and then make a square for the back for a nice crochet pillow. All right, so when you get to the end, you're going to slip stitch in the first stitch. There, half double crochet, and you're just going to slip stitch into the first stitch, whether it's the chain 1 that we did or the first half double crochet. Either way would be okay. Sometimes the chain 1 is really tight. Okay, and you're just going to cut your yarn, and you're going to pull it out and weave in the tails. I highly recommend that you get in the habit of weaving in your tails right away for any project, really. It gets overwhelming if you don't. If you wait till the end of a project and you have lots of tails, especially if you're changing colors, it will end up with a lot of tails, and it can just seem overwhelming at the end if you wait. So at least that's how I am. I get overwhelmed, and sometimes I'll put things aside because I don't want to deal with it, and then it sits in a basket somewhere, and I don't get back to it for a while. So it helps me to go ahead and just get all those tails out of the way, make it look really nice and neat and pretty, and then I will actually use these flowers for something a lot of times. I teach kids to crochet on OutSchool, and so I hang them in my background as just a backdrop. I hang flowers or snowflakes or leaves, depending on what time of year it is. It makes for a pretty backdrop. Okay, so just weave those tails in just like we did for the first round of petals and hide those tails as best you can. Now this tail, the beginning of round 3, is a little different because there's only a chain, a row of chains there that we began with. So I like to weave it back and forth through that row of chains. I'll weave the tail in until I can get up to the petal, and then I run it under the petals. That's how I like to do it. You might have another way. You might prefer to run it under the petals of the darker color or the first color. Maybe that's how you prefer to do it, and that's probably fine too. That would be just fine as long as you can't see the contrasting color when you weave it in. That would be just fine. It's a little easier to hide the color, and if you weave it up to the same color of petals, it's a little less likely that it'll show, I guess. There, my tail was a little too short, so I put in my yarn needle first, and now I'm going to put the end in the eye of the needle and pull it through. That's a trick for getting those tails in when your tails get too short. All right, great job. You're doing so good. You've got this far, and now we need just 2 more rounds to make another round of petals. So I'm going to switch to another color. We're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to turn it over, turn our flower over, make a slip knot with our 3rd color. Now, if you were just using one color for your flowers, I think that's just beautiful. It can be a really nice way to do a flower, and it will give it a beautiful texture. One color is just fine. You might be able to figure out how to not cut your yarn if you're using one color. So start with a chain of 7. We're going to start with a chain of 7, and then we're going to double crochet around the next double crochet. We joined our yarn to a double crochet from round 3 and chain 7. Now we're double crocheting around the next double crochet from round 3, and we're going to chain 4 between each double crochet. So we're just going to go all the way around, double crochet around a post of round 3, chain 4, and double crochet around the next post, and just continue until you're at the end. And of course, at the end you'll chain 4, and then we'll be finishing off with a slip stitch. Now, if you like to do granny squares, you can actually easily turn any 8-petaled flower like this one into a granny square. I should do a video about that. But you can kind of create a framework just like we're doing for the back of the flower here, and then start doing granny stitches. So granny stitches, if you're familiar with a simple granny square, is just 3 double crochets in a row, and oftentimes the pattern will say chain 1 and then 3 double crochets in the next space. So if you have 8 spaces to work with, you'll do 2 sets of 3 double crochets and chain 2 between them, and then you might chain 1 and go to the next space and do 3 double crochets, and then chain 1, and then do a corner again with 2 sets of 3 double crochets with the chain 2 or 3 between them. So that would start off your first round of granny stitches, and then if you know how to do a simple granny square, you would know how to continue. So that's a way that you can do just about any 8-petal flower and turn it into a granny square. Okay, so at the end you'll slip stitch to the third chain of that chain 7, flip your flower over, chain 1, and we're going to do our petals. Half double crochet into the chain 4 space, double crochet 7 times into the same space, and then half double crochet in the same space again. Then you're going to slip stitch into the double crochet, between the spaces, and then you'll do another petal, half double crochet 7, and half double crochet. And you'll do that in each space, and you'll slip stitch in each double crochet. Now, if you're not a content creator, you may not be aware that if you continue letting this video play out, it really helps me out, even if you don't need to see the rest because you're an experienced crocheter and you have the pattern. All you have to do is make the petals, and you get to the end and slip stitch to the first stitch, and then you're going to weave in your ends. But if you wouldn't mind letting it play out to the end, that would be a huge help to me. I really, really appreciate it. Everyone is so, so busy these days. I know I am. So just, yeah, I appreciate it if you can. If not, I understand. If you did get anything out of this video, if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. I'd really, really appreciate that too. That would be so nice. Doesn't really cost us anything to subscribe to people. Now that I know a little more about YouTube, I subscribe if it's something that I can support and enjoy and got information from. I'm afraid to do news channels. Have you ever noticed though? You click on a video that may have a controversial news opinion, then all of a sudden you start getting all these things in your feed. So I try not to click on a like on those. I don't know if it helps, but and I apparently watch too many crime videos, like judge videos and Karen videos, because I've got way too many of those in my feed. There's too much negativity. So I like to try and keep things positive. That's why I love making flowers and crocheting so much. It's just such a fun and pleasant hobby, and it's very relaxing, especially if you can memorize a pattern. It's so nice to just sit down with some yarn and not even have to look at a pattern and just start crocheting. You know, sitting in the car if someone else is driving, or if you're on public transportation, or if you're waiting in a doctor's office. It's so nice to just pull out a little bit of yarn. If you have a little bag, you can put it in your purse and or something, and take some yarn and make something cute. I might have mentioned I teach kids, so I make a lot of little amigurumi toys and things like little strawberries and little frogs and frogs and octopuses and octopi, whichever you like to call it, and little cupcakes and fishes and all kinds of things. It's just really, really so much fun. And after I'm finished making all those, I give them to the little kids that I know, my friends' kids, and they enjoy them. And now they come to see me. They'll come looking for me when they see me, but they love me for the toys that I give them. I'm not sure if they would come around otherwise. All right, so after you finish your last petal, we're almost there. I really hope you'll try this flower. I think it's just a gorgeous flower. And it's fun to try different color combinations. All right, I have one more petal to make. Half double crochet 7 times. And half double crochet again, and all that's left to do is slip stitch into the first stitch. That little chain stitch can be a little tight. And then all you have to do is cut your yarn, weave in your tails, and you're finished. Isn't that lovely? And I always tell my beginner students in my classes for kids that if it doesn't look the way you like the first time, just do it again. It'll be better. It'll be so much better the second time. The first time, you're just learning the pattern. You're just getting the idea, and every time you pick up your hook and work some stitches, you'll get better and better, especially if you practice regularly. So if you just make something regularly, your stitches will get more uniform, more neat, and you'll just get better and better every time, and you'll get faster. And as you get faster, you'll be able to do a lot more. Okay, so I only went under one petal to weave in my ends this time because this is such a large petal. That's all I needed, I think. So trim off that, weave in your other tail. You'll be completely finished. It's even pretty from the back, isn't it? So again, I like to weave it back and forth through that little chain. That was just a chain that we started with. A row of chain stitches. And I like to bring it up to the petal of the same color and then weave in the tail. For a large portion of my crochet life, I did not know about yarn needles. I didn't really know what to do with it. I didn't realize how much I needed one. And when I finally started using one, I was so happy. It just is such a good tool. So you can find them at Walmart, or someplace like that. They're not expensive. I think Walmart has a pack of 2 for just $1 or $2. And so I definitely recommend that you get one. Oh, and the dollar store has some really nice things these days. And some of their yarn I have tested out, and it's great. So not all of their yarn has been great, but the one called Just Yarn, I think it is, it's awesome. The ones that I've tried. So check the dollar store for hooks and for things like this, anything for crafts or Crochet. They have some nice things. There you go. Beautiful flower. Beautiful flower. Thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this flower, and I hope you'll try it. And if you have any questions or comments, please add them below, and have a great day.